Hello, ASCA members. This is our June meeting of the Board of Directors, and we're beginning our meeting with our open session. Every board member is in attendance for this meeting. Everyone's here, and what our usual way of doing this is we go around whenever we want to discuss an item, we go around the list of directors, and I have them listed alphabetically by first name on a list, and I usually call off their name and then they talk, but they can also tell you who they are if they say something out of, that's not. What was that? Okay. So, ratifying the May email business, and then the second, Stock Dog Committee response to the board regarding revising Stock Dog Judge applicant procedure. The third item is Stock Dog Committee feedback on reducing number of stock used for finals. 4 is request for from the legislative committee. And 5 is paid ads on the asca website homepage. 6 is directive to the DNA committee. And 7 is a system upgrade. So when we get to these and we switch over to this item, I'll expand on what that item is as it's stated on our agenda so that you'll understand more about that. So the meeting has been called to order, and the first item is ratify email business, and that is the board will vote to ratify all business conducted over email in May.
And this is Rachel. I make a motion to ratify all the May email business.
Thank you.
Ken will second that.
Thank you, Ken. So we have a motion on the floor from Rachel to ratify the May email business, and we have a second from Ken. So is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
If there are any opposed, say nay. Are there any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. And the second item is Stock Dog Committee response to the board 18.28 revised Stock Dog Judge applicant procedure. And Jean will fill us in on this. The board will discuss the Stock Dog Committee's response to the board request for input on revisions to the Stock Dog Judge applicant procedure. Take it away, Jean.
This is Jean. You should have something in your Dropbox from the chair of the Stock Dog Committee. He started a poll that doesn't officially end until the 20th. However, he's already got 10 of the 13 votes on record for a Stock Dog Committee motion where they don't recommend the wording in the Board of Directors motion, and they would like to continue to work on the wording, and they would have it they would have it to present to the board before our July meeting. They want to make the initial application process similar to other committee programs, and you should see that in your Dropbox. So my question to the board is, do we agree with this request and allow them to continue to work on it?
Okay, Cindy, would you like to say something about this?
I voted against it because I wanted to go to the committee first before the vote, and I agree with the committee having the time and getting back to us with their recommendations.
Okay. Denise, what would you like to say?
I would say that I think that the Stock Dog Committee should have the opportunity to get this completely discussed amongst themselves, and that it would come to us in plenty of time to discuss it and have any back and forth discussions with the Stock Dog Committee in order to be ready to vote at the July meeting.
All right. Jean, do you have anything else to say?
Just as a board member, I voted against the original motion because I felt that the committee should work on it first. So I'm for letting them continue to work on it.
Ken, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Since we're talking about why we voted or did not vote for the original motion to change the word and then send it to the committee, I think that we really need to clear up the miscommunication. I think that when the board makes a motion and sends something to the committee, we're offering that committee in a written format as provided by the whole board. So it was very simply a task of, this was our idea, this was the changes that we thought were important, and we really wanted them to work on it. So if they need more time to work on it, they're more than welcome to have time. I think that what we originally sent really wasn't the final product, and I don't know why anybody ever thought it was. And I think Jerry did a good job of putting it in a better order. And so I was ready to approve that, but apparently they would like to expand that some more. So yeah, give them more time. And I hope that in the future, the committees understand that when the board just makes a motion to make some changes to a program, especially when they're administrative, and then send to the committee, that is what we're asking for, asking them to look at it and help us work out the problem. That's all that exercise was supposed to be, as far as I know. Thank you.
Okay, Laura?
I don't have any comments. I would like to give them some time. I think July is a fair amount of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
Yep, let him work on it.
Liz?
I say let them work on it.
Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. I'm good with giving them extra time. The only thing I did note in their proposed version was they dropped out the sentence that clarifies that the board gets final approval on a candidate. It was there, but again, it was mixed in with another sentence, the same as it used to be. And that was confusing to folks because folks sometimes got the idea that the Stock Dog Committee had the final authority. And so I would like to see that sentence remain as a separate piece on the procedure. Other than that, I'm good with it.
Okay. So to me, in summing this up, it looks like everybody, I agree with everybody. I think we should give them more time. So I think the consensus seems to be to give them more time. Are we comfortable with just going on with it? Or do we want to make a motion?
I still believe that everything we do, we should make our motion. It's a very simple, quick process.
Okay.
I couldn't hear that.
I said that I really believe that we should make motions when we decide on business. It's not a difficult task. It takes a couple of seconds. So let's make a motion to allow them more time to work on what they would like to see in that wording.
Go ahead, I'll second. This is Jean.
So Ken, are you making that motion?
Sure. Was that good enough, or do I need to work it more?
I think I heard you say that you are moving that the Stock Dog Committee be given more time to work on PD 1828 revised Stock Dog Judge application procedures. And we have a second from Jean. Was that your motion, Ken?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor from Ken and a second from Jean to allow the Stock Dog Committee till the next meeting, till our July meeting, to work on Board 18.28 revised stock dog judge applicant procedure. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Are there any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. The next item on our agenda is stock dog committee feedback on reducing the number of stock used for finals to 80 from 160, I think it is. So, Jean, do you have something for us on that?
Yes. Again, you'll see it in your Dropbox. Jerry, again, the chair took. I'm getting some feedback. The chair took a poll, and 9 voted against the board suggestion of reducing the number of stock. 2 voted for it, and 2, there was no response. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 responses against reducing the number of head of stock, and there was 1 positive comment. I know that the stock dog committee has many ideas for revenue generating and cost reduction, and I'm hoping that the committee that we have formed to look into finals costs will be reaching out to them soon. And
Okay,
that's the report on that.
Do we want to receive that report as information, or do we want to discuss it? Cindy, do you have anything?
No, I agree with the stock dog committee. Majority of
Denise?
them.
Denise?
I'd like to see a little bit more discussion from the stock dog committee, because I thought when I was following the committee online that there were other methods of reducing the stock other than just stipulating a number that we had given them to just cut it in half. And so I'd like to see the discussion of that. That's still an important part of that. So I would go with attending that discussion.
Hey, Jean, do you have anything else on this?
Not for
The motion itself did not ask for any other suggestions or cost-saving measures. While that could be a natural path to go down, that's not what the motion itself asked for. It asked for their thoughts on reducing the head from 160 to 80. And like I said, there are ideas. They do have ideas, but that is, I believe, better served by having our board committee that's going to look into finals and the costs associated with it. It would be better served to maybe ask each committee for a list of 5 to 10 items they can identify that can help reduce costs overall. But this motion specifically asked about reducing the number of heads from 160 to 80. And that's what the committee answered.
Okay, Ken, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. So I'm fine with the committee's answer. I appreciate the fact that they want stock numbers to remain the same. I think the whole purpose of what we were trying to do, and it doesn't look like we're very successful at doing it, we're still trying to find a way to communicate with the committees and actually work with the committees. And but we have a ways to go yet. I would just make another motion asking all of the committees, because we've done this before, asking all the committees to try and find a way to cut the costs of the finals. I think the stock dog committee saw that there were quite a few things in there that could be changed. I agree with what they said. It made sense. So I would go ahead and just make a motion, ask the stock dog committee to find a way to cut the cost of the finals. That kind of was all an open request to committees to find a way to make them cost effective and stay within a budget. So I think we need to try and better communicate what we're actually looking for. So hopefully we can just keep trying. We'll finally hit on the formula that works best.
Laura, can you address when
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
We did form a committee, and it's Cindy and myself and Denise, and I have to take the blame for the lack of activity on the committee between now and the spring meeting. But I do have a letter that I want to send to Cindy and Denise for them to approve, that we will send out to each committee, ask them to do something similar to what Ken and Jean have already suggested. And then we will work to gather those suggestions and work with those committee chairs to come up with some ideas. And I apologize that it's taken so long to get that out to the committees, but I promise I will have something tonight before I go to bed. I already have it. I just haven't sent it out. I've been doing other things. But I do appreciate the committee's time making the comments. That was just one idea that's been batted around for years. And it was just something that we threw out there just to see some feedback. So I do appreciate the feedback, and I'm sure we will continue to work with Jerry and the other Stock Dog Committee members, as well as the other committee chairs, their members, to find some good solutions to the problem. Thanks.
Thank you. Linda, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, Liz?
Not really. I think that Ken and Laura have put it very well. I think we should just keep on working to try and find the solutions and ask the committees to help us doing it. Thanks.
Okay, Rachel?
Well, since I've been on the board, the terms that I've spent, I think about 2 or 3 times we have had similar requests back to the committees. And actually, the Stock Dog Committee actually increased judges and increased dogs the last time. And so there are several steps that could be taken. And I believe that if we send this out to the committees, we need to have a deadline. They need to have a defined deadline, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and to the remarks that, well, the board should cut their Skype calls or should cut their teleconference calls. That's irrelevant. What we're looking at is finals. We need to focus on finals, and each venue needs to focus on their own finals. And so if we do this, there needs to be a defined deadline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can move on with the knowledge that Laura and Cindy and Denise will be discussing this with the committees. And what do you think, Laura, about putting a deadline on your letter?
I will send that to Cindy and Denise right after this meeting, and then they can get back to me to see if they approve of the letter, and then the chairs will get the letter.
Okay.
And then we'll proceed from there.
And this is Jean. May I say something?
Yes, Jean?
I just, I want this to happen, so, but I just want us to be aware of some of the directives that we have already given the Stock Dog Committee, and which directives are going to take precedence over others. We are trying hard to get everything off our plate so that we can concentrate on beginning Stock Dog, and that really, we really want that to be our focus for the next couple of months. So I just hope that this deadline will keep that in mind.
Good point.
We will make sure to do that. Thank you, Jean.
Ann, can I say something?
Yes, Ken?
Hey, I'd like to see if we can't develop another model. I'm not so certain that we really need a deadline. I think what we need is, and Chuck has spoken to this previously, we got to find a way for, we've got a board committee, so why can't they actively work with the other program committees? And that way you don't have a deadline. You've actually got them constantly going back and forth. And so they're constantly in the process. So as long as the board's committee is working with the program committees and things are happening at whatever pace everybody's comfortable with, I don't really see why at a deadline. And then the second thing is, you know, I've seen so much discussion about board directives. Well, board directives, I think, are an issue because there's somehow important task of business that has come up that we need the committees to get a recommendation on, and we can't wait much longer. So how many things maybe we should have an understanding of what an expectation is. How many things can a committee work on at the same time? I know on the board, there's times when we're working on, in 1 month, 20. I mean, Cal would be better at gauging this, but I'm thinking that we're juggling 10, 20 more issues at a time every month. So we've given a committee 3 directives or 4 directives, and we're very willing to offer extensions as long as we're working forward. I'm a little lost at that whole discussion. So if anybody can help me, I'd appreciate it.
Does anybody have anything?
Yeah, this is Rachel.
Okay.
My only concern about not putting deadlines on things is if you do not, folks don't tend to take it seriously and work through to get it done. So, and the deadline may be June of 2020. You know what I mean? It's a deadline that the board committee will look at and work with the committees to set. Because if you leave it open-ended, I'm afraid it will never get finished. And I certainly was not suggesting that they put this ahead of their other priorities. Just to have a timeline that we expect to get this information back to the board.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. I think Laura knows what I'm talking about, and I'm certain that she can think of something where we're not just issuing a hard deadline, but we're trying to change the model of how we work with the committees.
Does anybody else have anything to add? Okay, I think we will.
This is Denise.
Go ahead, Cindy.
No, it wasn't me.
Denise, was it you?
I have just thought that the Stock Dog Committee seems to be really working hard on issues. There's a lot of discussion and a lot of, Jerry sounds like he's been really trying hard to keep things moving right along. So I think if we have our committee from the board to work with that, I'm hoping that he and the others will follow that suit of trying to promote this as an issue, because it is an issue. It's a huge financial issue to ASCA. That's all.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, then we'll move on to request from the Legislative Committee. The Legislative Committee is requesting that the board is requesting board approval or denial for funds that were donated to CODA to be used by ADCNYS Legislative Coordinating Body for New York Dog Clubs to pay their lobbyist. Just as a teeny little background thing, a couple years ago, ASCA was part of CODA, and CODA was begun by the ADCNYS, New York clubs that's wanted to fight against something. I can't even remember it right now, but it was a big issue, and they had a lobbyist that was hired to help us work on a lawsuit against the federal government regarding new.
And this is Rachel. It was regarding the kennel licensing.
Okay, new dog laws regarding kennel licensing. That's right. And ASCA raised, throughout the whole thing, ASCA raised money and provided it. And that was used to pay the attorney who helped the project. And then at the board meeting, at one of our nationals, we passed the hat and raised something like $12,000 at the general membership meeting to give to this body because ASCA was committed to doing an appeal because we lost that lawsuit with the federal government. And so we wanted to appeal, and we raised like $12,000, and we sent that to them. And then that club, CODA, voted within their leadership, and I was part of that leadership, voted not to go forward with the appeal. And so ASCA got all of its money back. So what this would be whatever CODA raised that had nothing to do with ASCA or ASCA's involvement with it. And they want to be able to, CODA wants to be able to give that to the New York dog clubs to pay their lobbyists. As far as, if you ask me, and I was heavily involved in it at the time, probably very little of this had anything to do with ASCA's money. It was mostly what they raised. And so I kind of feel like I'm in support of this myself because I think it doesn't really have anything to do with ASCA. That's just my thought. So Cindy, do you have anything to say?
No, after that, I wanted to know a dollar amount because it wasn't included in the email. But with your explanation, it seems like that I had remembered that money coming back to ASCA. So
Yes.
This was the previous money that was left over from the first lawsuit, not for money raised for the appeal. So I have no problem with how they wish to use it.
Okay, Denise?
I agree with Cindy. I think that's a fair judgment.
Jean?
I too agree with Cindy.
Ken?
The letter that we received, they were asked, it seemed to me, I read it as they were asking if we wanted our money back. Are you saying now that when they decided not to continue with the lawsuit against the USDA, that they did return all the money we donated or a portion of it?
Absolutely. They returned every single penny of it.
So what are they asking us to do? And are they only asking us to spend the association's money that we were part of?
Personally, Ken, being heavily involved with it at the time, I think that most of the money that they raised ever was used to do the initial lawsuit, and that some of that got paid to the attorney. I believe that when they were out there looking for whether to do the appeal or not, people were still sending them money. Some of the other clubs that were involved, not ASCA, the other clubs that were involved were still sending them money. I think this is left over after the whole effort, and I don't have any idea how much it is. I stopped being involved after they decided not to do the appeal, as did the attorney. So he never collected any money after they paid him to do the initial lawsuit. So that's where most of it was going to anyway. So I think CODA along the way, and they're just trying to get permission from everybody that was involved to do with it what the initial beginning dog clubs, which was the ADC New York dog clubs, So that's kind of what that's all I can say. I don't know anything else, but I think that it's pretty much, it no longer involved us after they decided not to do the appeal. So they had money in their treasury. I don't know where it came from.
So I think my understanding of your explanation is that none of this money actually is money that ASCA donated, and they've been holding ASCA's money. This is just that club that was put together to file the suit against USDA, and because we're members of that club, they're asking permission to spend that club's money to give to the lobbyists. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Laura, do you have anything?
Before I say, I'd like to ask Rachel, this was her item on the agenda. I want to know, do you have any clarifying information other than what Ann has already said, Rachel?
That is pretty much the story, Laura. It is whatever funds are left in the CODA account, and because we were a portion of the original group, the CODA group that was fighting it, they're soliciting approval from everyone to use those monies. So I'm in support of it, and I will make a motion after everybody speaks.
Then I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda?
I'm good.
Liz?
I agree. Let them use it.
Rachel?
Okay, so everyone's pretty much in agreement. So I'm going to make a motion that ASCA allow the ADCNYS, the legislative coordinating body for the New York State dog clubs, to use whatever funds may have been left over from the CODA lawsuit.
I'll second that, Rachel. I'll second it. Ann seconds. Okay, so
Okay,
we have
thank you.
a motion on the floor to approve that the ADCNYS, Legislative Coordinating Body for New York Dog Clubs, be free to use the funds that they have after the CODA project to pay their lobbyists, as they see fit. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Are there any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. Paid ads on ASCA. Number 5 is paid ads on ASCA website homepage added from an email discussion. This is to discuss the removal of all paid advertisements from the ASCA website homepage to be placed on a separate page just for ads. So we were discussing this in email, and I think the suggestion was that rather than having any ads on the home, we were discussing discontinuing. There's a motion on the floor for our monthly motions to remove no longer allow ads for directors to be on the advertising on the homepage, but that a special page be created for the display of any advertising that has to do with director candidates. But then in our discussion, some of the directors felt like we should discontinue all ads and move those to a separate place from the homepage and move those to a separate ad page that would be reached from a link on the homepage, I would assume. So, Cindy, do you have anything about this?
I support moving the candidate ads, but I also support moving all ads off the homepage and creating a tab, still allowing paid ads, but not putting them front and center as maybe ASCA supports them.
Okay, Denise?
I agree with the same thing. I think that the ads are a great thing and a great opportunity for members to be able to put their items up there. But I too see that having it right on the website, on the homepage, that it can be misconstrued as an ASCA thing if you don't read the label that it's an advertisement. So I would be in favor of moving all paid ads to its own separate page off of the ASCA website homepage.
Jean?
Thank you.
I agree with removing all paid advertising from the front page of the ASCA website and putting it under its own tab somewhere else on the website.
Thank you. Ken?
I agree. Move ads to somewhere else specific to what the ad is for, not on ASCA homepage.
Okay, Laura?
I agree. Thank you.
Linda? Linda, are you muted?
Oh, yep. I'd rather not see any ads on the ASCA website.
None on the website at all?
Yep.
Okay, that's different from what we're discussing, but thank you for your input. Liz?
Can she share why she believes that? It'd probably be useful to know.
I
Linda?
just think we're a dog club. It should be about the club, not election.
Okay, so it's not, our website is different than the Aussie Times.
The Aussie Times is our newsletter. That's where the ads belong.
Oh, okay, well, that makes sense to me. I agree with Linda. I was just thinking that whoever originally made this idea to put advertising on the website, that was kind of a standard practice. But if it's not, then I agree with Linda. We don't need advertising on our official website.
I know it's a cost. There is money that we earn from these, so just because we have people doing dog ads all the time on it, so there is money being earned. Okay, Laura? No, I'm sorry, you already used yours. Liz?
Okay, so if we're going to say that we're going to get rid of all ads in the homepage, or whatever we decide, then I will have to withdraw the original motion, and then we will have to make a new motion to remove all ads from the homepage, and then also for all candidates to have a special page if we want to do that. So I think, basically, I think that at least the homepage should not have any ads. Because really, I mean, the ASCA website, I mean, that's the first page that any new person, or even if it's somebody just looking for information, is going to come to. So I think that it should be all about ASCA and the breed. So that's what I got.
Rachel?
I believe it would be a move backward to remove all paid ads from the ASCA website, while I do not want to see any on the home page. I am not adverse to people being able to pay for ads, because those ads also go over to the Facebook and to the other ASCA social media. So to cut out the monies that we may generate from that, I believe would be a backward step. I am all about people paying ads because they're proud of their dogs and their efforts, as long as we have a separate page for those ads on the website, just not front and center on the home page. So I would not agree with having no ads on the ASCA website. And I do believe that the motion that's on the floor needs to be withdrawn and potentially rewrote and rethought before we present the motion. Maybe that'll be a motion that we could put forth in July. Thank you.
I would like to suggest that we go ahead with the motion that we have on the floor, because that was also something that was in response to some member feedback that we got. And that's a separate deal than taking all the ads off the front page. I believe that we could do another motion in the July meeting cycle that would get all the advertising off the home page. But I think we should go ahead with the one for the director's advertising, because I think it's two different issues. And I don't think we need to withdraw it. I think we need to go ahead with it. But that's just my thought.
And may I say one more thing, please?
Yes.
Just a clarifying question. So we are talking about all paid ads, but we also run quite a few ads for like ASG, and those would continue, or would they also be on a separate tab?
I believe those are paid for.
Okay, I didn't know. Thank you for that.
Yes, I believe they're paid for.
All right, good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
This is Jean. Yep.
Okay, I also don't think we want to get rid of all paid advertising altogether for what Rachel said. I think we have income that comes in from that. And I think that as long as we take it all off the home page and have a page for it, I don't see any reason why we can't continue to have advertising, but that's just me.
And this is Rachel. Can I speak again, please?
You bet.
Well, the motion that's on the floor right now has no dimensions regarding the ads or no definition regarding what we will accept. So to me, the motion as it's written is not complete. So, I really think that we need to rethink it, because if we vote on this motion right now, while I really do not want to see paid ads on the front page, I will have to vote no because the motion is not complete.
Well, may I say something about that? Because I said this once already on email.
And I want to say something too when you got a minute. I've got my hand raised. This is Jean.
Okay, all right.
Let's go all the way around again.
I feel like if we're creating a new page, we don't have any idea what we're going to use as dimensions for anything until that page is created. And I think we could leave that up to our website designer that knows how to do these things and let her come back to us with several proposals. I just don't think this is anything we need to rush into, because it could be used for next year's election. But I just don't see any problem with, I don't think we as the directors need to come up with dimensions for ads, because we don't really know how to do that. Do you use inches? Do you use bits or bytes? Or, it's like, that kind of goes beyond our scope of knowledge, in my opinion. Jean? Maybe I'll just go around again. Cindy?
I think I'm okay with the motion that we have in front of us now. But I think as we develop the page, we should also ask Chuck for a disclaimer that the opinions and are not those of ASCA. Anything that's on that people pay to put there is not ASCA's opinion or views.
Good. Denise?
I agree with Cindy on that basically the liability disclaimer type thing. But I do think that we should vote on the motion to remove the paid ads from the homepage of the website and establish another page specifically for the advertisements. And the design of that is not our business at this point. It's just how to place them, to displace them from the front page and put them on a different page.
So are you talking, just as clarification, do you mean the director's ads, or do you mean all paid advertising? Because it's two different issues in my opinion. That's the point I'm making, but you may not agree.
Well, I agree with you. There is a definition, because it seems like anybody says, everyone says, the first thing you see on there is if it's a paid ad, your impression that that is ASCA's supported ad. And so I think all the paid ads should be off of there.
Okay, sorry. Jean? You wanted to...
Yes, I did. I believe that we should go forward with the motion that's on the floor and go ahead and go for a vote on that. As it stands right now, there is absolutely no policy anywhere in writing about ads on the website or Facebook, as far as I can find in the policy book or anything. So perhaps in July, we can make a policy regarding ads in general, where we'd like to see them, and we can put that in the policy manual, and that way we all have a guideline. But I also agree with you, Ann, that size, shape, color, that would really be up to our technical person who is going to decide what fits on a page on the website. So, like I said, let's go forward with the motion that we have right now, and then perhaps do a policy or paid advertising on the website for the future.
Okay, Ken?
Well, I do have a question about the motion that's made right now. The motion says that we don't have paid ads, those director candidate ads on the website, and it says it would be effective immediately. So what does that do for the ads that are there already?
Well, we won't be voting on that until it will be final at the end of the month. Does that make sense? I mean, we have our normal voting schedule is is it from the 19th to the 20-something? I don't remember exactly what the dates are. Kala?
Yeah, you vote from the 20th to the 26th, and I post the results on the 27th.
Okay, so
That takes that almost to the end of the month.
so what did the people who advertise see? What did they buy? What did they spend their money for?
I think it was for a month.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Laura?
The only thing I would say is this whole thing came about because someone raised a question of fairness. And my concern would be, I've seen 3 paid ads, 2 last month, 1 this month. I wonder if there are people who are running who maybe were planning or maybe have already bought ads for July, and that was their plan, and that's where they were going to spend their money. And now it wouldn't be fair not to allow them to have the opportunity to have their ads running after 3 candidates have already had their ads out there. I don't know if anyone else has that concern. That would be my only concern is, the whole thing was about fairness. I think we asked Heidi to put a big banner, big orange letters said this is a paid advertisement. I think it's really clear at this point. I don't know that it's fair to change the game on people who are running at this point. 3 people have been able to run ads. The other 6, maybe they want to run ads. I don't know. That would be my only concern. Thank you.
Regarding that, I think we could I'll ask Heidi if she can tell me if she has anything for next month to just see where we are. Or Rachel can do that. Linda?
I'm good.
Liz?
Okay, so I will leave the motion as is. My main concern about the ads was to put something in there that says that all ads should be equal. I really think, when it comes to the Aussie Times and stuff like that, people put whatever they want to, however many times they want. I think that's enough. I mean, one ad in the website, in one page, all the same size, all the same price, and let the members go in there and look at the ads or whatever. So, and I think that the issue of the size and how to do the page and all that should be left to our web designer, because I have no clue. Thank you.
Rachel?
I've already said what I have to say. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so we've talked about, everybody's had a chance to talk about this twice. So I think we are agreeing that we need to vote on the motion that's on the floor. And then we'll go to dealing with the rest of it for the next month. Does that make sense? Is that what we're deciding?
Yeah, that sounds
That's
good.
what I.
Okay, so then I think we can move on to the directive to the DNA committee, and that's Jean. And this is a follow-up from the May conference meeting, teleconference meeting, when the board discussed asking the DNA committee to look at other labs for parentage verification for ASCA. Do you have more on this, Jean?
Yeah,
And
I
can I
presented
ask something quickly? This is Denise. Were we not going to vote on the last motion then? Was there a motion for the ad?
The motion that's on the floor is the one that is voting on in the email.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, I don't think we had another motion.
No, that's right. I just wanted, when you said we were going to vote on it, then I was thinking we were going to do it now. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Jean?
So I came up with a motion. It's in your Dropbox, but I'll read it for those that are listening in. It's a motion by me. It's a second by Gray. And it states, the ASCA board directs the DNA committee to research laboratories which can be used as backup or as an additional lab to ASCA's current DNA lab, Therion. Turn that down. Any lab considered must use the same DNA process for parentage verification as our current lab in order to be compatible with ASCA's DNA database. The lab must be located in the U.S. We left off a deadline. I realized that after we spoke about deadlines on for other motions. So we think 90 days. So give September 1st. No, October 1st would be about right. So that's what we have.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Jean Roberts, seconded by Linda Gray, that the ASCA board directs the DNA committee to research labs which can be used as backup or an additional lab to ASCA's current DNA lab, Therion. Any lab considered must use the same DNA process for parentage verification as our current lab in order to be compatible with ASCA's DNA database. The lab must be located in the U.S., and the deadline for this would be October 1st of 2018. Do we have any discussion?
Yep.
Okay, Cindy, let's go around. Cindy.
Okay. I just want them to consider a checklist of things that they're going to consider when they ask these labs, such as if they can use the same markers, how many markers will they agree to do, extended markers, how long they've been in business, stuff like that.
That's a good idea.
We get the same answers from each lab.
Denise?
I think that's a good thing. I think the deadline is a good time after National. So I would agree with Jean and Cindy.
Jean, did you have anything else?
No, other than instead of being specific about a checklist, I think by saying the words they must use the same process so that they can be quote unquote compatible actually answers the question as to how many markers, the extended markers, will they store it, all of that stuff. So when you use the word, this is the same process, I think that covers it. That's the only thing.
Okay. Thank you.
That makes sense. Ken?
I think that the motion that Jean made is too narrow in scope. I think that if you look back at the full discussion of our DNA laboratory, there's been many issues raised, and I think probably the most legitimate ones is, are we using the proper procedures, technology, storage, the whole thing? I do not think that ASCA, we want to waste the committee's time by finding out who is a mirror image of the lab we're using now and who might be a backup. What I would like to see the committee do, and I think what's best in ASCA's best interest, is we have the committee find out what is available as far as DNA testing goes. And that means that you make that little shopping list like Cindy was talking about, so that you're asking the same questions and getting the same answers from everybody. You ask them to tell us what they can do for us, and we tell them what we're doing. So we would like to know what other processes are out there. We would like to know what kind of required certifications, everything. We need to have a catalog of what's available to ASCA, and I don't think this motion provides that for us. So if we want to have a backup, doing a full-scale investigation of all the different labs that are available to provide this service to an organization like ASCA, we can then pick one to do whatever we want, be it backup or replacement or whatever. But the motion is not going to give us any really good information other than find out if there's a lab that's the mirror image of the current lab that we're using. And we're not answering any of the questions that have come up over the years about processes and how the data is interpreted. So I would like to see the motion change to be more of a broad research than this very finely focused research.
Laura?
Ken, do you have a list of these? You have a lot more experience in this area than I do, and you have a lot more history. So I was wondering, do you have a list of these questions that you feel need to be answered specifically that maybe you could share? And it almost sounds like Ken would like really a report on what's the latest, greatest techniques out there in DNA. What might we need to know about? So it almost sounds like it's two different tasks.
Right. We have a choice between two different tasks. I think that the first task that's covered by this motion is incomplete and doesn't meet ASCA's needs. I think we need a more complex task, and I think the committee had an understanding of what that task was. A lot of the questions, since we have two labs now, they can't seem to agree on how to interpret the same data. We need to know what is the best practice for DNA testing for a club like ours, just like everything else. What is the accepted best practice? And that's what we need to focus on setting up for ASCA. I think that, when you look at what AKC's lab does, they interpret the data one way. The German lab apparently interprets data a different way and develops data differently than our lab does here. There's no agreement in what we're doing now. There's no understanding of actually what's happening. It's just kind of we're here. We don't know exactly where we are, but we're here, and we're just going to stay with this for now. And I think the time for that is over with. I think we really need to do an in-depth investigation, find out, since this industry has changed so much in the last 5 or 10 years, that we need to find out what the established best practice is and get ASCA headed in that direction.
Okay, Linda?
I pass.
Liz?
Okay, so I completely agree with Ken. One of the things that I think may also be problematic is that I don't think 3 months is enough. And I'm going to tell you what. We're talking about technologies, we're talking about way to do that these companies do business and all that. I think that the time frame should be about 6 months. And like Ken said, we should have a plan of, the committee should have a plan of attack as far as, you know, what is happening now with the technology, what is happening now with best practices, what is happening now with, you know, with the markers and all of that. And see, I know that we have a problem with the system markers that we use and how that is going to translate by, you know, being used by another lab. But those are things that, you know, are all part of what we're going to, you know, find out, or the committee will find out. But I think that the time constraint of 3 months is too little to really do a good job. And, you know, I was in the DNA committee when we had the InGen issue and we started looking at Therion. And even then, I thought that we should have done a more thorough job of, you know, working out what exactly we need and we wanted, and in choosing a lab. That's just my opinion, of course, but we want to make sure that we have all the information that we could possibly need before we, you know, before the committee sends anything to the board. You know, they have to have everything they possibly can that can give us a good direction to take. That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, Rachel?
I definitely feel that this motion is incomplete and will not achieve the desired results. That last sentence, any lab considered must use the same DNA process. We're not looking for the same DNA process. If that were the case, we would stay with Therion forever. We are looking for new technology. We're looking for better practices. We're looking for labs that may be able to do a more efficient job for ASCA. I think all of those things must be given a fresh new look. And 3 months is not even enough to scratch the surface. 6 months may be enough, but the DNA committee may get out there and find that 6 months is not enough because of technologies, because of each lab and the practices. So I will not be able to support this motion as written. We need a more concise motion.
Okay. Motion on the floor. We've had a lot of discussion on it. Does anybody have anything else they want to add, or should we go around again? Or Jean, do you have anything you want to do about this?
This is Jean.
Yes. Okay.
I'm happy to withdraw it, and maybe Ken, would you be willing to help me write a motion that includes more of what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think I could do that.
Okay. You know, my only concern, but anyhow, the board has the ultimate approval, is that, you know, we're gonna risk throwing away the DNA database that we already have if we go to somebody whose markers and processes are not the same as what we're using. But I certainly have nothing against finding out new technology, new research, new methods, anything like that. So I'll be happy to withdraw this, and then maybe Ken and I can work on this the next couple weeks for the July motion period.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Thank you.
All right.
So our last item in the open session is the system upgrade with Rachel. And Rachel is going to report on ongoing progress of the system upgrade.
Hey guys, so I was supposed to have texted Allie, and I'm so sorry. We got into that before so let me text Allie real quick and get her online because I really wanted her to take part. So I'm just gonna, please give me a minute. I am so sorry.
Go for it.
Okay, I just sent her a note to please call in. I will go ahead and tell you nothing is going on the system even as we speak. However, the system committee did meet this week, and we had a very good meeting. I believe that we have our new member is Joyce Charon, and I believe Joyce is a very, very positive addition to the committee. And what we decided was to basically create an additional, a new RFQ for ASCA, and it's going to be specific to our need. And so we're going to be working on that RFQ over the next couple of weeks, and then we will submit that to the vendors to get their response on that RFQ. And I will update the board as we get into this. You know, we'll send it out to the board for review. But that's all I have right now on the system upgrade.
Can you clearly state what we're looking for? Looking for someone, for a company that will provide us support.
Yeah. All right. Right. So what we're looking for is number one. We need monthly. Okay, and so we have been running without that support now for the last several months, and it's rather scary. And so what we would like to do is not only have that support, but have the vendor set up redundancy so that we have a fallback in case the system has a glitch, so that nothing will be lost and we can continue on. So that's our goal, is to locate a vendor that will be able to help us with monthly system maintenance. The other criteria that we're specifically looking for in a vendor is if they perform well on the monthly maintenance on the website, is being able to work with those vendors to for the bug fixes. That's number one, is our bug fixes. There's a couple of issues that we're having, one of which that prevents the ASCA office from always being able to do their updates online the way they need to. And the other one is the reporting on the agility software. That is rather limited at this time, and we would like to get those two issues corrected immediately. So we're hoping to locate a vendor that we will be able to work with, and that will be the two immediate fixes if that vendor is cooperative with us to get those done. And then from there, what we're going to do this time is not create an all-encompassing SOW, but work on portions of the system, and like the milestones that we had prior to, and each particular job will be broken down as a particular milestone towards the end system upgrade. So we will not be locked into a full SOW. It will be done in pieces. So that's what we're looking at right now. Does anyone have any comments or thoughts on that?
If we need to go around, just ask.
Yeah, does anyone have any thoughts, comments?
I think that was a good report, Rachel. Being on the committee, I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
So, as far as open session goes, we don't really need Ally to be here. We need her for the next section, right?
Right. And I've texted her, and hopefully, remember, she's on call this week, so she may not be able to call in.
Okay. So I believe that concludes the open session for tonight. We have several more items before we can call it a night. But if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks, members. Bye.